From MTN Sports, this is Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Women's basketball is on an historic run, while men's basketball is heading into the final week of the regular season with everything on the line. I'm Keaton Globally alongside Grace Lawrence. We're talking to both head coaches Matt Logie and Tricia Binford in just a bit. Grace, let's start with the men. Another extremely tight game against the first place Grizzlies.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Big Sky Conference on the men's side, a lot of parity once again this season. But like you're saying, Jay Mullen said it best, I think, going into Cat Grizz last week when he met with the media. It's the fact that, they can keep up with anybody, but they can lose to anybody. And all these games have been tight. Montana, 9-game win streak now, top of the conference. Head coach Travis Secure broke tied a program record on Saturday. But then again, it was a nail-biting win for them.
And it was, and it came right down to the wire, right down to the finish, and for the Bobcats, didn't quite execute at the end of this ball game, and as a result, they're sitting at 7-8. They're a half game up on that first round bye for the Big Sky tournament with 3 games in 5 days coming up. So it is a very, very tight window down the stretch.
Well, they have a lot to prove, and at this time last year, they really used this final week to prove a lot going into Boise, and to sweep a road trip would be so key, with the conference tournament in the next couple of weeks.
Well, we'll see if the Bobcats on the men's side can get it done. Thursday night, they are at Portland State, which is in a tie for third place, then at Sac State. So the Bobcats on the men's side trying to get that first round bye in the Big Sky tournament, and they can really make some progress coming up this weekend on that Pacific Coast trip. All right, after this timeout, we're sitting down with head coach Matt Logie talking some men's basketball on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, Keaton Globally alongside head men's basketball coach Matt Logie. Coach, how we doing? How we feeling?
Doing good. Good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, we're getting into this final week of the regular season, coming off a great game at the Brick. Great day of basketball, really, at the Brick this last week. But first of all, the atmosphere, the first gold rush for hoops. What were your impressions? How'd you like it?
Yeah, it was terrific. The fan support all year long has been just top notch, and it was a fun theme to get the gold jerseys out there and really make it a gold rush event. And I thought the fans really helped motivate our guys and help us dig out of a couple holes, and that's the type of environment that the Brick's been all year long.
Yeah, how often does that come up in recruiting when you guys are talking about not only the rivalry but just the consistent support from the Bobcat fan base? It's
huge. I think it's a big part of what we sell when we're recruiting because of the tradition of it, because of the community that we represent and play for, and it's a big draw for our athletes. It's very unique in college basketball these days. You see a lot of attendance numbers across the board really dwindling. There's so many different things and competitive entities out there for everyone's entertainment time and dollar, and we have a community that really cares, and that really motivates our guys, and it's something that really draws them here as well.
I'm sure that's part of the reason this Bobcat team right now leading the Big Sky in attendance per game so far. But Coach, let's dive into this game against Montana at the outset. It seemed like Montana kind of came out as the aggressor. They hit a couple of early buckets. What were you seeing in those first few minutes?
Yeah, I mean, Montana's playing really good basketball, and they've got a trifecta of guards at any given time, depending who's out there that can really make shots. And so, I thought early on, we were kind of getting our sea legs under us a little bit, and then we were able to kind of dig our heels in at times.
Now, one of the numbers that have looked good kind of on paper is the turnovers per game, sitting at about 10 per game. But we have seen a few kind of timely turnovers that have cost you guys at a few different times. What are you seeing in some of your ball control right now, and how is that impacting your defense?
Yeah, I think we've done a good job of taking care of the basketball from a turnover perspective. I think one of the areas that gets kind of under discussed or overlooked sometimes is some of the possessions that we'd like to get back when you look at them on film don't end in turnovers, but they just end in low quality shots, and a lot of times those are just as good as turnovers for the defense. It's maybe a long rebound or a way to get run outs or just a low percentage value shot. And so while we've done a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball, we've seen at different times those turnovers creep up just at the wrong time.
Yeah, and what are you seeing too in terms of like why that happens when are you guys passing up a good shot early in the shot clock, or is it just you're not getting the space where you want it? I mean, what are you seeing in some of that shot selection that leads to those possessions you're talking about?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different factors. At times the pace of our offense will get slowed down in terms of ball reversals and player movement. There have been times where we've needed somebody to step in with more confidence and take that good to great shot earlier in the possession instead of being a little bit more passive. And so both those things are I think are things that we're trying to improve on and just make sure that ball snaps around and everybody's ready to step in and either catch to shoot or attack the closeout or swing it to the next man and let those concepts connect to one another.
Well, get through the first half, still kind of a tight game. You guys scored some of the first few points in that second half. How'd you like the way the team came out aggressively in that second half? Yeah,
that was the thing we talked about at halftime was just our ball pressure, our level of activity. We needed to make them more uncomfortable. Really both teams really struggled to defend from a percentage standpoint. It was a high-level basketball game from an offensive standpoint. Both teams were, taking and making punches. And really just when games are going like that, it's going to come down to, who can make the big plays down the stretch.
Well, let's talk about some of those big plays down the stretch. I mean, got it to a one-point game, and then Montana opened it up a little bit, and then you battle back and get it back to a one-possession game a couple of times as well. What were some of those key moments down the stretch you feel like decided this thing?
Well, I thought number one, Sam Lekalot's energy. Again, just his work on the offensive glass, the way he is connected, the other parts of our offense at times, and then protects the rim on defense. Those were, really infectious moments in that second half for us. Jay Mullins and Pat McMahon, attacking the basket and making some things happen as well. Were key elements of that run to get us right there. And when you get to the point where you battle back and you're within one possession, you've got to be really solid and detailed. And unfortunately, we had a couple untimely fouls that allowed it to kind of stay at two possessions without us having that chance to tie or take the lead.
Yeah, you mentioned Jay Mullins, Pat McMahon. They did seem fairly aggressive down the stretch. They were getting themselves to the line a little bit. Kind of feels like it's a glass half full, glass half empty situation here where you need some buckets. You got some guys to the line, but they didn't always finish at the free throw line.
Yeah, Jabe and Pat actually did a pretty good job at the line. We just, unfortunately, as a group, didn't ring the bell in the second half, and that's going to happen at times. Certainly our guys are going up there with every intention to make the shot, and to beat good teams, you can't miss 11 free throws in the second half, and that's just the reality of it. But there's going to be another opportunity down the stretch here where some of those guys get a chance to step up and take another crack at it and swing at the bat, and we've got great confidence in them that they'll put the work in between now and then to move on from this adversity and hopefully when it matters a little bit more, ring that bell.
Yeah. You do anything different in practice, set up a different free throw something, or just try to boost the confidence a little bit going into the final stretch?
Yeah, I think sometimes people make more of it than needs to be. You certainly have to work on free throws. You have to put yourself in pressure situations during practice, which we do all the time. Certainly this isn't the first time that people have had to respond to failure in those moments. And so really it's about what do you do next? How do you compartmentalize? The thing I always tell our shooters, and for me, that was something that I took great pride in as a shooter in college. But you have to have a short memory on the negatives, and you have to have the ability to find those positive experiences and flick back to those the next time that you step up to the line. And so it's really about having a short memory in failure and then being excited and ready to go for the next opportunity.
All right, well, we can get excited and ready to go for this next opportunity for Montana State. 3 games in 5 days, Senior Day on Monday. We're coming up on Thursday, a very good Portland State team. They've been phenomenal at home this year. What are we looking for in this game on Thursday night?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us. I think one of the final chapters that this team needs to overcome and grow through is the ability to win on the road, and especially beating a good team on the road. And Portland State is a very good team at home. We've got an opportunity to not only check that box and hopefully get to Sacramento on Saturday with the chance to sweep a road weekend, which is what I'm talking about here as far as kind of this last box that we'd like to check in our journey before Boise. And so it's a great opportunity for us and one that hopefully can build some momentum heading into Boise and senior night on Monday.
All right, well, we're looking forward to that. The men tip off at 8 o'clock Mountain Time on Thursday night off in Portland. Well, the women will be home again this weekend, and we're talking about that with Grace Lawrence and later head coach Trisha Binford after this on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Well, while the men may be swimming a bit upstream, it's been the women's basketball team that has been the current of the Big Sky so far. 15-0 in conference play, 18 straight wins because they had a 32-point blowout against Montana at home on Saturday.
Their largest margin of victory against the Lady Grizz in program history. And I think the crowd wanted 100 points. I think that's the only thing they really could complain about this entire season in the Brick. They're being absolutely fed all season long, especially with Esmeralda Morales. You know, I asked her post-game, how do you kind of get up for this rivalry game? How does she describe her first ever at-home Cat Grizz atmosphere? And she said, look at this crowd. We got to put on a show for them. And she absolutely did, 28 points. And also, she just distributes the ball so well for the entire offense.
Yeah, it's really a sight to behold. Watch this offense go to work with that extremely stout defense that this women's team has. But after this win against the Grizzlies, now Montana State has an opportunity on Saturday night against Portland State to clinch a share of the Big Sky title and clinch that #1 seed in the Big Sky Conference tournament. So very exciting weekend coming up starting on Thursday at the Brick.
Yeah, the women's team told us that they've adopted that 1-0 mindset from the football team. Going to try and go 2-0 this week to take home that regular season title, to clinch it outright. I mean, they're playing some really complimentary basketball, and Caitlin Martin told me last season, coming back into this season, they want another ring. That's the reason she came back for this final season. Talking about all the history made with the women's team thus far with head coach Trisha Binford coming up after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence joined alongside women's head coach Trisha Binford, coming off the largest margin of victory over the Lady Grizz in program history. That's got to feel sweet at the end of February.
Just really proud of how they came out and really fed off that crowd.
Definitely. Yeah, talk to me about that atmosphere. The first ever Gold Rush, 4,100 people in the Brick. Felt like 5,000 cheering you guys on.
Yeah, it did feel like the arena was filled. We looked in the stands, the Gold Rush, first time doing it. What a great idea. And just, the energy off that, the excitement off that. Our kids got the crowd going immediately, and the crowd never let up. It was incredible.
Yeah, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record talking about Esmeralda Morales, but when I talked to her post-game about that crowd, she said, we have to put on a show for them. Well, how does she kind of lean into an atmosphere like that?
Yeah, I just think great players play in great moments, and she shines in the most clutch situations, and boy, has she played for this crowd all year. And that was definitely one of the things that she was interested in the recruitment. She loved our atmosphere, she loved our crowd, but she had never experienced a Cat Grizz rivalry game in the Brick, and she got everything she hoped for.
Yeah, we talked so much about her tangibles. She had a game-high 28 points on Saturday, but what are those intangibles that she brings as a leader to the team as a senior in a game like Cat Grizz?
Well, number one, she's relaxed. I think even through shoot around, going through the morning, through the week, just locked in. There's just a comfort level about her that when you step on the floor, that you know that your squad's going to be ready. So it starts with that, her steadiness, her ability just to kind of touch every area and aspect of getting kids going, but knowing when to take over and what the shot clock situation is. She's really a coach on the floor.
Yeah, you guys had a couple injuries, unfortunately. Mara and Dylan both not finishing the game. How did you see your team step up, though, on Saturday?
Yeah, it was one of those things that it could have gone either direction. At the same time, this team has stepped up for each other all year, whether it's foul trouble, somebody going in and out, Lexi and Taylor coming back a little bit later in the season. We've had kids out for a week, and they just continue to shine and rotate and be there for each other. This team loves each other tremendously, and in that moment, they knew they needed to step up for them.
Yeah, Lexi had some really great paint presence in that first and second half. How is she as a leader? And this season, it's really tough coming back from the injury she did, how she's finally coming back into her own.
Yeah, we've been talking about this kind of being the free year of really getting ourselves back to the true Lexi that everybody knows by the Big Sky tournament, and she's getting there pretty fast. And one of the things that you appreciate about her is when she steps on the floor, you're going to be relentless. You're not going to get outworked, and she's going to compete. And it's absolutely what she did. And you can see that she's getting her feel back now. Her finishes were strong. She gets our team to the foul line, but she's a beast. So when you bring that off the bench and rotate in. Once again, you go through our lineup, and we feel like we're always gaining something.
Yeah, another player who had a great game, Caitlin Martin. She had a little buzzer beater at halftime. She was emotional after the game. She kind of took in the atmosphere and what was one of her final games in the Brick. What what does she mean to this team as senior day comes around?
Well, she's kind of the epitome of a Bobcat. You know, she's really impacted our community. She's embraced the culture of excellence and been a leader in that, the identity of our defense. And one of the things last year, if our crowd remembered, I know our crowd does remember that Cat Grizz game here last year. That was a very emotional game when she got hurt and fortunately was going to be okay. So I think there was some emotion in that for her as well. But that was also the moment where she knew she wanted to come back for her fifth and final year. So, you know, it's kind of full circle for her to have that special moment and also protect home court.
Yeah, Taylor Jansen, another one of those seniors who made the decision to come back this season to celebrate her this final week for her in the brick as well. What's that going to mean? Yeah,
it's one of those things that it just goes so fast, even though at moments I know the kids think it's long and it's a grind, but then you're in that moment. And, you know, Taylor, once again, also had a great game for us. She just has so much season experience and, you know, we want to honor her in a really special way. So obviously that class has done a lot for us, and Taylor has had a lot of moments in every single role. What a great example for all of our underclassmen.
Yeah, lots of complimentary basketball on Saturday. Talking about the defensive effort once again, you guys now lead the nation in steals per game. How do you guys not take your foot off the gas, you know, as we're getting into February?
Yeah, well, I don't think we want to be quite honest. It's a piece of what makes this team so special and great is they value getting and gaining extra possessions, and this team wants to run. This team wants a fast-paced game, and I thought we were more disciplined on the defensive end, and that actually created us more opportunities on the offensive end, which you know, that was a really special week for us to have going into Cat Grizz of just getting back to some of our habits and getting those into the champion kind of realm as we head into the Big Sky tournament.
Yeah, and that win also made some history. You guys had the longest active winning streak in program history with 18 games. How does this team balance both taking in a moment like that and then looking ahead, knowing the target's on your back these last 3 games?
Yeah, I think we definitely celebrate the moments when they're happening. You want to over-exaggerate all the things you're wanting to see again, right? So we got a great chance to celebrate, but then also you get that 24 hours and then it's back to work. And this team does a really good job staying in the present. They celebrate each other really well. They love each other. They support each other when we're going through tough times and adversity. But they're going to be ready to go. They continue to move the needle. They know that there's room for improvement. We've got to be at our best. We're going to get everybody's best game, and that starts for this game next Thursday.
Yeah, talking about Thursday and Saturday, Portland State, Sacramento State, what stands out most as you guys have your final 2 games in the brick this season?
Well, the first thing is we really tried to pressure Portland State, and they got by us. They were faster than maybe we anticipated and expected. So we got to do a better job of making sure that we're controlled with our pressure defense in the full court because they do have some athleticism and foot speed to really attack us. They actually changed their defense a little bit on us, so could be some zone, could be some man, through some kind of traps to get the ball out of Esme's hands. So we're going to have to be prepared for that. And then, you know, after you turn the page and hopefully take care of business on that, then you got a very athletic and experienced Sac State team that got a lot of really good talent in the portal that at any time a lot of different kids can go off from a number standpoint. So I think the bottom line for us is continuing to stay in our lane, one game at a time, bring our best game, and make the adjustments throughout the course of the game.
Definitely. Well, it's a very special senior class, and you have 2 more opportunities to see them on Saturday. I know that's so important with how special this class is. So 7 p.m. on Thursday, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Stay tuned after this. Keaton and I will be previewing those matchups coming up.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Well, we've made it to the final week of the regular season. Boise's on tap at the end of next week. But, you know, talking about this final 3-game stretch, we got senior day and a ton of special seniors across both teams, starting with the women's team. Head coach Trisha Binford has said it all season. This is a special group of women that decided to come back this past off season because they went through so much last year, so many trials and injuries out of their hands. To see this season come together has been so special for them.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for them and the fan base as well. So an opportunity not only to say goodbye to that senior class of the brick, but also to say goodbye while hopefully they're earning some jewelry and winning a Big Sky championship this weekend. Meanwhile, a group of seniors that have won a number of Big Sky championships on the men's side will be on the road on Thursday and Saturday, but then home against Idaho on Monday. Currently, Montana State and Idaho tied in the conference standings at 7 and 8, but going to be a really emotional Monday night at the Brick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to prove over this 3-game stretch, and specifically on Monday, the women on the road, at the end of that 3-game stretch, the men coming home hope to be greeted by a huge crowd at the Brick.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and there could be some hardware handed out at the Brick on either Thursday or Saturday. All right, we got one more Bobcat Insider next week to get you ready for Boise. Until then, I'm Keaton Glugly, this is Grace Lawrence, and this has been the Bobcat Insider.